you're ever driving alone at night and you see a blinking neon sign that says vacancy in the middle of nowhere, keep driving. Don't stop. Even if you're exhausted, even if your phone is dead, and especially if the place looks too quiet. I didn't listen to that instinct, and what happened in room 103 still haunts me to this day. It had been a long day of driving. My car, an old sedan with fading paint, felt like a tomb in the middle of nowhere. The clock on the dashboard blinked 11:37 p.m. I was exhausted, my eyes heavy with sleep. The storm clouds overhead were threatening to break at any moment. I hadn't seen a gas station or any signs of life for miles. Then I saw it, just as my fuel gauge hit empty. A lone motel sign, blinking erratically in the distance, promising vacancy. I pulled off the road without hesitation. Anything was better than driving on fumes in the middle of nowhere. The motel looked like something straight out of the 80s. Neon lights, peeling paint, and an eerie stillness in the air. But I didn't care. The rain had begun, and I was too tired to go any farther. I walked into the lobby, the door creaking loudly behind me. The receptionist, an elderly man with a weathered face, looked up from a faded book when I entered. "We have a room for you," he said in a raspy voice. "Room 103. We don't get many visitors out here, so enjoy the quiet." He handed me a rusted key with an old tag. No smile, no small talk, just that cold, lifeless gaze. Something about him unsettled me, but I shrugged it off. I was too tired to think straight. The room wasn't what I expected. It wasn't filthy, but it wasn't clean either. Everything was arranged in a way that felt unnatural, too perfect. The bed was made with military precision. The curtains were drawn tight, not a single wrinkle to be seen. On the nightstand, an open Bible, its pages yellowed with age. I didn't think much of it, just shoved it into the drawer and lay down, hoping to get some rest. I had just begun to drift off when I heard it, a soft knock at the door. At first, I thought it was the wind, or maybe I was just imagining things. But no, there it was again. 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. I hesitated, then slowly walked over to the door. I peered through the peephole, but there was no one there, just darkness. My heart raced, but I brushed it off as a trick of the mind. Maybe the storm had me on edge. I turned around and froze. There, just outside the door, were wet footprints, bare feet, leaving a trail across the carpet. But I hadn't seen anyone pass by. No one was out there. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't move. Not locked, not jammed. It just refused to budge. I was trapped. Panic set in as I turned the lock again and again, but it was no use. The door remained solid. I checked the window, but it was nailed shut, the glass fogged with condensation. My heart was pounding in my chest. I had to get out of there. Something wasn't right. I grabbed the phone in the room, a rotary phone. But when I picked it up, there was no dial tone, just a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." I dropped the receiver, my hand shaking. This was no ordinary motel. The air in the room had turned cold, the temperature dropping rapidly. I could see my breath. I moved toward the bathroom, where the humming sound was growing louder. As I opened the door, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. There was no one there, nothing, just the sound of water dripping from the faucet. I turned back toward the room, and that's when I saw it. In the mirror behind me stood a figure, tall, thin, wearing a faded brown coat. Its eyes were dark holes in its face, its mouth stretched into an impossible grin. But when I turned around, nothing was there. I rushed toward the door, but my eyes were drawn to something I hadn't noticed before. Cameras, tiny lenses embedded in the walls, all pointing directly at me. I felt exposed, trapped. Suddenly, the TV turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. Then, a flash of light. A figure on the screen. Me, sleeping on the bed. I backed away, my breath shallow. But it wasn't me in that moment. It was something else. Something that had been watching me all night. I don't drive at night anymore. I don't stay in motels. Not after what I experienced, what I saw. The motel, the room, the figures. They weren't real, at least not in the way I understood. And the worst part? When I got back to my car and drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror, and for a split second, I saw room 103 standing in the distance, empty, waiting. So, if you ever see a motel where there shouldn't be one, just drive. Don't stop. Don't even look. Because some rooms weren't built for people. They were built to keep something in. And you might just be the next one they choose to keep. You've heard these stories, but are you sure it's over? Like, share, and subscribe for more of these terrifying real-life horrors. Click the bell for the next dark tale. And remember, the scariest part isn't hearing the stories. It's that they could be happening to you right now.